All right, so these are all of the supplies that you'll need to make a moccasin. These are the bottoms, these are the cuffs, these are the vamps, and these little pieces here are the welts. And then we have our ties here. So in your kit, you should receive one long piece of sinew, which I separated in half into two. And first you want to start out with these three pieces. Put everything else aside and thread your needle. All right, so first, this is going to be the outside of the mock, the fuzzy part, and then the inside of the mock is going to be the softer, not fuzzy part. So it's always going to start with fuzzy side to fuzzy side, and that goes with this as well. So the first step you're going to do is sew this welt onto the vamp, which is the top part of your mock. Right, and then just knot your thread at the end. Usually knot it twice just to make sure that it doesn't go through when I'm sewing. And so again, you're going to take this welt, the longer one, in your kit and line it up here, fuzzy side to fuzzy side. Yeah. Start at the corner. Bring that through. I'm just gonna show here. And this part I just whip stitch. We just want to make sure that it's attached. It's just a spacer. We don't have to do any fancy sewing for this part. All right, so after we've sewn all of this together, it's going to look like this, and you're going to stop right at the end. And I wanted to show how I tie this off. So you're going to go through like you normally would, and then save this loop here. Kind of see it on camera there. And you're going to go through that with your needle and do that 2 times. So I'll do that one more time here and save a little loop there. Loop. Go through the loop and tighten. And there's going to be a little overhang here. I'll show you how to trim that. And then I just knot it normal at the end after I secure it. So I just put a knot through and bring it all the way down. Tighten that, and then you can cut that off. And then see, there's just a little bit of overhang here because you want them to line up with this edge, just like this one does. And so I'm just going to trim that so it's flush. So that is the first step. Then you are going to turn that over so that it's fuzzy to fuzzy again. This is the fuzzy side, and then this is the fuzzy side of the bottom part of the mock. And you're going to put that down. And I usually have these marked where there's a mark here. And then there's a mark here. And so what I do is I just take the very center of the top and I make a stitch. Get your thread again, not the end of it. And we're basically just securing it in place so that we can start our puckers. So I take the very center top of this, fuzzy side down, this is fuzzy side up, and you don't really need more than just one stitch to secure it. And I do the knot stitch, which is like I showed earlier, where you keep the loop and then you just go through your loop with the needle and then tie it off. And then you can cut that. Right, and then again, we go in and knot our thread. Right, and then we're going to find that marking, and we're just going to. If you don't have the marks, you can just fold this base part up like that, just about an inch on both sides. And use that as your guide. I've seen where people use paper clips or safety pins for this part instead of doing a stitch. So if you have some safety pins, you could also just use those to attach them in these two spots on the sides. And then we're going to do the other side. So again, just knot your thread. And go through the hoop. Make a knot, tie it off. Tighter. Cut that. Now this thread, what I have left is too small to start on the puckers. So I'm going to go ahead and get a new piece of thread. And so this is what it looks like when it's ready to start the puckers. You're going to have some like little ears here. And get ready to thread your needle again with some new thread. All right, so when you first start your first pucker, I start from middle to the right first. And you just make a small little hill here like that. And then that is where you're going to put your thread. So we call these hills and valleys. So you're going to make a hill and then you're going to poke your needle in the valley, which is this crease here on the other side of the hill that you made. So I just take my needle and stick it right in the valley. Like that. And then you're going to go through that same spot that you just went through again. And we're going to do a knot. So you pull, 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 and then you go through your hoop here. And then pull it tight. And what this is going to do is going to create a tight like stitch so that it holds that little hill in place. Then you're going to make another hill right next to it, push them together, and then take your needle and go in the valley again. And again, pull through until you get to where you have a loop, and put your needle through the loop, and then just tighten it. And then again, another hill. And now we're gonna poke in the valley. You can wear a thimble on your thumb at this part too, just in case you are worried about poking your thumb on the other side while you hold these pieces together. All right, again, we have the loop here. We're gonna go through it and then pull tight. And we can see we've got 3. These are gonna be our puckers. They start to kind of look like little teeth. Make another hill right next to it. And again, poke your needle right in the crease of that hill. Pull through the loop. Pull tight. And you're going to do this all the way until your leather is, you don't have any excess here. So this excess is all for these puckers, and pretty soon it's going to lay flat. We'll just keep going here. And another hill and poke in the back. And we just do this over and over and over. You are getting less and less excess here. Once you get good at making baby mocks, it's pretty easy to make adult mocks as well. Same exact technique. Typically we use a stronger leather because there's more wear and tear. So I just have enough excess here to make one more hill. And then the rest is going to be flat. And then once it's flat like this, then you can just continue to stitch and you don't have to worry about making any more hills. Some people do whip stitch here. I just continue with my same knot pattern, just because I think it secures the leather better. It's a lot stronger. And then you just keep sewing until you get to the end right here where you stopped your other stitch. This is the tongue kind of the vamp. And like I said, I just go through these hoops to make that knot stitch. It's very secure and strong stitch. Once I get to the end, I just line it up with all those corners. So we have 3 pieces sandwiched together. And I just go in for the final stitch and do a knot stitch to finish it up. And then I tie it off. And then once you're done with one side, you just move on to the other and do the same thing. All right, so once we finish both sides, it's gonna look like this. And I just knotted my thread at the very end where those 2 pieces meet up, or 3 actually, sandwich 3. And then here's where you can flip it inside out, or right side in. Looks like so. This part is the welt, and we can trim this down later on. We can trim them all at the same time. So the next step is the back, and the back you just fold this way, and we're going to use the welts that are about 1.5 inches long. And what you do is you just line them up here. So you're going to have a sandwich of 3. Bring this close to the camera so you can see it. And these all line up, and then this part's open. So you put that welt there, line it up, and then you're going to have a little overhang here, which we can trim that off later. And then you're just going to do that knot stitch all the way across. This again. And I usually start from this side just because it's easier to trim off the excess that hangs over here instead of trimming it off near this part. And this is the stitch I do is the loop stitch again. You're gonna wait until you get that loop and then put it through and then tie it tight. And as you go, just make sure that you keep that sandwich all the way, because these pieces can slip sometimes. space them about a quarter of an inch apart with my stitches. You can do this until you get to the end where it lines up at the very top there. Go through one more time, tighten that, and then just go through and tie it off. And then here's the little excess that we have here, and we can just cut that flush with the other. Right. Turn it back. The right side, you're going to have this excess again, and like I said, we'll trim that flat when we trim this one flat. All right, the last step to this, to the bottom part, is to put in the tab. You're going to grab the smallest welt that you have. It's just about an inch long. Turn this inside out again. And you're going to take your tab, and you're going to want it to be fuzzy side up. It's going to be a little tricky to get it in place. Once you get it in place, it's going to look like this. See, I just put that weld through there, and the rest of it is in here. So it's going to be flush. And it should look kind of like that sandwich thing that we did with this piece. And we're just going to stitch right across there. Make sure you should be going through 3 pieces of leather. So the bottom, the welt, and then this part. You can see all 3 layers there. You want to make sure you get all those. You could just do a simple whip stitch here, but I go ahead and do the knotted stitch. Again, just make sure you're getting all 3 of those pieces when you do this part. Go to the hoop. And once you get to the end, you can just tie it off and then snip. can also burn all these threads later so that they all are secure, but also that they're flush. Right, so then you can flip this, and then that's what your little tab is going to look like. And our next step is just going to be trimming. All right, so the next step is going to be the trimming of all these welts. And I have a very large leather scissors here. If you have a smaller scissors, I strongly recommend that you use it just because this is a very small space. And you always want to, you know, be careful because you can always take off more, but you can't add once you've taken it off. So I just am going to get as close as I can. Be careful. And you can start by trimming one piece and seeing how that lays. And I think that's perfect. So I'm just going to use that same amount going the rest of the way. Probably better to trim in sections so that you can keep an eye on how close you're getting. Don't want to get too close. It should only stick out just enough to lay semi-flush with both pieces. All right, so that is the first one that we trim. And we're gonna go around to the back here. It's a little bit easier because it doesn't have a curve in it. So you can just hold it kind of like you would if you're trimming your bangs. And just go straight across. And then for the tab, the teaching that I was taught for this is this was put there so that when you know, baby was walking, this tab would erase their footprints so that they couldn't follow. I've used fancier scissors for this piece. I do like a zigzag cut. If you don't have a zigzag scissors, just try to get this tab to be as much of a square as possible, and then I cut out a little triangle here. Right. And then once we do all that, that is the last step for the sole or the bottom part of the mock. And then our next step is going to be the cuffs. So for the cuffs, you're going to want to get a new thread if your thread is short, just because this is a longer surface to go around. is not your thread. Great. And then this is the cuff. And for this one, it's not actually going to be fuzzy to fuzzy. So you're going to want to tuck this in with the fuzzy side against the smooth side in here. Because once you're done, it's going to fold over. This part can be a little challenging just to get it inside of the mock, but I just kind of tuck it in there and get it lined up as close as possible to both of our corners on the edge. And then once I get it lined up to where it's about size, I am going to trim the excess off. So this one I had to trim about an inch. So again, when you put this in, you're going to put this in with the fuzzy side facing the smooth side, and you're going to push it all the way down until you get the corners to line up with the corner of the mock here. So you can see this is the cuff inside. So the fuzzy part is touching the smooth part. And we're just going to start sewing with the knot stitch that I've been using. So line these up corner to corner. Try to get as close to the edge here as you can, but to just make sure that you're going through both pieces. And then I'll do my loop stitch here on that. You're going to go all the way across your cuff. All right, so I have completed stitching the cuff. You can see it's tucked in here like that. And stitched all the way around, and we're just going to pull it out. And there's your cuff. If you wanted to, you could round off these points. Like the look of that a little bit better. I've also seen them straight, or some people put bias tape around them. You could also bead the edge and just do like a normal beaded edge. And then the last step that we have is the ties. There's a couple different ways that you could put these on. Some people put them on just at the edge and just do a couple stitches and then do it that way. But I always just wrap it around underneath here, and I secure it in 3 different spots. So I'll secure it here, and you can decide whether or not you want like the more fuzzy side of this out, or if you want the smoother side. I'm gonna have the fuzzy side out. So you just find the middle, fold this in half. There's my middle, and I'm gonna put it at the middle here. And you're just gonna go through all the way to the inside. And then once you get to your knot, hit the back there, and you're gonna poke it back through. So it pops out this side again. And you can do this 2 or 3 times just to make sure that it's in place. And I actually usually tie this part off in the back. So I'm gonna go back through one more time. And tie this. I'm going to do that to the other side as well. I don't have a lighter with me today, but like I said, you can burn all of the sinew and it melts, and then you can kind of just tap it and it'll melt right in flat. All right, and then next part I do is the sides. A lot of threading and or tying off your needle here for this last part. Again, we're just gonna come in. I always start on this side just because it's hidden. So I'm gonna poke it through until I get into the inside of the mock here. And I'm gonna go back through until it comes out this side. And like I said, I just do that 2 or 3 times just till it feels like it's in place. And tie it off. All right, last stitch. Again, I always start from underneath here just because it's hidden. I probably go through 4 times just to be safe. You know, especially if you got a little foot that you're going to be tying the laces on, you're going to probably tie them a little bit tighter, and so you want to make sure that it doesn't rip away from moccasin. And end on my outside, and then tie that off. Straighten out the cuff here. And tie it with a baby shoe. And that is the final product. Mini Glitch. Have a good day.